I don't know about you, but it sounds that much more nicer coming from a baby.
Deep, because Iran's nuclear program is obliterated. Why is there low confidence? Because all of the evidence of what was just bombed by 12 30,000-pound bombs.
Can babies be in charge? As of course some people argue they already are. As of course we have gotten some more crazy news regarding the United States and Iran. Did they do the ultimate deed? Do they need to go back in again? Well, it looks like some Democrats allegedly are the ones leaking fake news to CNN. What's going on here is Lindsey Graham has more surprising statements as of today that are seemingly coordinated with the Iranians and the Russians now. What in the world's going on here is, of course, this world is getting a lot more weirder. And I think the objective here is just try to confuse people as much as they can and demoralize them and have them infight each other, as we are going to be doing our best not to fall for a lot of the psyops, propaganda, manipulation tricks, and we're going to report to you what we're seeing and our honest takes on it. And if you appreciate that, subscribe, click the notification button, as of course all signs are pointing to more activity at the Pentagon, which is not good. This as the Iranian Ayatollah came out of hiding and announced that he has proclaimed victory over the United States and Israel, saying that he gave, quote, a big slap in the face to the United States. Now, is that actually true here, as there are a lot of fog the war particular moments here and wag the dog moments as well that make you kind of wonder and question, what's the validity of all of this happening right now? As, of course, Iran now, to the world, announced no more nuclear talks. It's not happening, as Iran's top diplomat, Abbas Araghchi, confirmed there are currently no plans to restart nuclear negotiations with Washington, as Washington is saying, well, their nuclear program is destroyed. They got really nothing to talk about, as the Iranians have been coming out and saying, no, we moved the stuff from there. That's why there was no one there. That's why there was no casualties there. As now, Lindsey Graham joins CNN, the Russians and the Iranians in a talking point, talking about, hey, the highly enriched uranium, that actually wasn't a part of the target set here. And there's a lot of people now trying to say, yeah, no, totally. They didn't get it. Kind of alluding here, hey, they should probably come back in again. That's the larger assertion here that we think and we assume Lindsey Graham is really after here. As of course, as soon as this news broke, as soon as CNN and the New York Times said, nope, these strikes were not successful. I'm like, this is just probably an intelligence agency, either U.S. intelligence agency or Mossad intelligence agency, leaking information in order to restart this conflict. And that's the fair assessment to make here, in my opinion.
Here's where we're at. The program was obliterated at those three sites, but they still have ambitions. I don't know where the 900 pounds of highly enriched uranium exists, but it wasn't part of the target set.
Look at that. Yeah, that guy has been waking up. A family-friendly show here. He has been satiated by the human sacrifice that has been made in his name. I'll just leave it at that.
Are you concerned that in light of that several years, when the administration is saying this is obliterated, it suggests that they're not able to build a weapon. But you're saying in several years, perhaps they'll be able to. Isn't there
that's what I'm saying. They're obliterated today, but you can reconstitute.
Yeah, as of course, Lindsey Graham is disappointed that the regime change didn't come soon enough. I still think a regime change is going to happen in a span of 2 years from my kind of assessment here. The Ayatollah does not look good, especially in his video address when he came out of hiding. Obviously, there's a lot of stress. Obviously, a lot of the key members of his government are being assassinated and taken out, as there's news now that the Israeli IDF military forces were able to get the phone numbers of all the high-ranking military members, and they told them, hey, we have an emergency meeting. They set up a fake meeting. They went into the building that F-35s were up in the air of, and then and they blew them up after coordinating. This is the level of kind of disorganization that the Iranians are dealing with, and levels of sophistication that the Israelis have here. Let's just be honest. They have organized and orchestrated this surprise attack for over a year. The attack on the Iranian nuclear facility has been on the table for 15 years. So obviously sabotage, intelligence gathering, and other kind of intelligence efforts here have been top notch from the United States, from the Israelis that have utilized all their tools, tactics, and techniques here in order to launch a full-scale war, predominantly against the top leadership and scientists of Iran. Now, these individuals that were targeted and attacked here, I mean, this has set back Iran considerably, specifically when it comes to their military leadership and when it comes to their science programs. Some would say science experiments. But in reality, let's just be quite frank and honest with ourselves here. This is a major military action that was taken against them. Luckily, there still is a ceasefire, as there's now reports of more targeted assassinations in Tehran. Before talking about that and why China, Russia, and Pakistan abandoned Iran, we'll tell you why in a little bit. We wanted to remind you to sign up to lookunfiltered.com. I'm in the chat room right now. I just shared some private moments. If you want to know what's below the waist here, family-friendly show here, family-friendly group text message for members of lookunfiltered.com. Go to the Telegram chat for our members, and you get to see what I am wearing underneath. That sounded horrible. I'm sorry. I apologize. But that was where the discussion was steered today in our chat room. And if you want to be a part of that chat room, if you want 13 plus years of videos, if you want 3 master classes, if you want seed oil cards, if you want merchandise that no one else could get other than members, if you want to go to our in real life meetup in Milwaukee, July 9th, and in Miami, 10 spots available for our self-defense class, July 13th. Sign up right now to lookunfiltered.com. Click the link down in the description below. And then sign up, check your spam. Once you check your spam, you're bada bing, bada boom, you're in there. And once you're in there, you get access to a lot of really cool things, including the chat room that, of course, I am in right now that I read. This, as in the making of this video, we are getting unconfirmed reports of unexplained explosions in Tehran right now that allegedly are targeted assassination attempts against high-ranking governments and scientists inside of Iran, as we are seeing pictures come in that, again, have not been yet independently verified, but allegedly highlighting now reports of 3 individuals taken out, 2 senior officials of the IRGC, and, quote, a nuclear scientist, as no one has claimed responsibility to this. And this could be one reason out of many reasons why the Ayatollah has been hiding out in a bunker still. And why Iran says that there will be no nuclear talks is, of course, we have to understand the situation here could devolve very quickly. Now, as we confirm the reports that have been kind of coming in here, we have to understand here that the situation still is very tumultuous, to say the least here. What exactly happened here? I don't know. But let's be honest. If the targeted assassination attempts continue, we could probably expect some kind of Iranian retaliation, as I think the Ayatollah understands that his days are kind of numbered here. I mean, one, he's pretty elderly. He's pretty old here. And there have been some rumors about back channels between high-ranking Iranian military members and the IDF and the Mossad. As we had phone calls released of the Israeli military calling Iranian generals, threatening them and their families, and using this type of situation in order to kind of extort maximum pressure on there. This, as we have the Iranian spokesperson coming out and the foreign minister coming out saying, quote, I can clearly confirm that no agreement, arrangement, or dialogue has been reached to begin with new negotiations. None of the new negotiations will be beginning here. And it might look like Donald Trump could be trying to send an olive branch that is very heavily green to the Iranians as a gesture that he's willing to, of course, cooperate and work with them. As Donald Trump now, according to CNN, if you could believe them, is considering to offer Iran $30 billion and other benefits for Iran to give up their nuclear bomb. Now, the Trump administration is reportedly discussing the possibilities of this to build a civilian energy-producing nuclear program. He is also ready to ease sanctions and free up billions of dollars restricted by the Iranian funds that have been restricted in the banks as a plan of, quote, de-escalation attempts here. We hope that's the case here. Now, the fact that there's reports of now missiles coming in and taking out senior government members, that right there is not a show of goodwill. Now, who would do that? Who would compromise peace deals and negotiations and ceasefires here? I wonder who has it in their interest and doesn't want a lot of focus on their corruption cases. I wonder who understands that he's in political office as long as there's a war. I wonder what country, what political leader would have it as a way to benefit from this. This is not a left and right issue. Nancy Pelosi joins Jeb Bush, joins John Bolton, joins the Cheneys, the Bushes, who else is it? Nikki Haley, and all these other swamp monsters like Lindsey Graham to defend Trump's actions. And she just came out and she said to the New York Times that she said both parties are committed to U.S. support for Israel and the values of, quote, this friendship. She acknowledged that it would have been better for Trump to come to Congress, and she dismisses Dems' grievances that, quote, it's a big deal. Now, this is what Thomas Macy was saying. Hey, there should be a vote if we're going to be involved in another foreign conflict here. AOC also said a very similar thing here, as now Khomeini announced that Iran will never surrender to the United States. As the Iranian supreme leader says, U.S. strikes on nuclear sites did nothing significant in his first comment since a ceasefire was agreed to. Now, a ceasefire doesn't mean a peace deal. Now we're working on the hard part, the peace deal that, of course, a lot of parties would probably try to sabotage in one way or another. That's no good. So Donald Trump came out, and listen, one way of sabotaging this is by coming out and saying, yeah, these U.S. bombs did nothing. And again, this is important because we have Russia and China and Korea and Pakistan looking at all of this. The United States has about 50 of these 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs. And we just spent 12 of them, I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, on bombing this nuclear facility in Iran that Iran had no people in. They evacuated a lot of stuff from there. We don't know exactly what they evacuated here. But if you have people coming out and saying, nope, they didn't do it, they need to do it again, that's the logical conclusion that a lot of people come to. Oh, no, Trump didn't finish the job. Those people are the ones trying to start up war here. As now the administration announced that they are going to be heavily investigating and looking at who the leaker was that leaked this, quote, information. Now, whether you believe this information to be true or not, it's important to understand here that these are all kind of calculated talking points trying to steer us towards more war. As Donald Trump announced, the Democrats are the ones who leaked the information on the perfect flight to the nuclear sites in Iran. They should be prosecuted. Well, there's going to be an investigation. Will they find them? Will they not? This as the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called Iranian strikes this weekend, quote, historically successful. And the Ayatollah, Lindsey Graham, the Russians are all downplaying them. That's my assessment here. Now, Pete Hegseth also came up against the corporate media, and this is what he had to say to them that a lot of people are using as a kind of moment to describe this current situation.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard, it's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump, because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes.
Now, listen, in a way I agree, because the corporate media hates Donald Trump. But they clap like seals whenever he does the bidding for the military-industrial complex. They did that when he bombed Syria. We had MSNBC hosts saying that they were crying with emotion, and they loved seeing these missiles fly in the air as they were hitting and pounding Syria in his first term that he did, allegedly, according to his own son, because Ivanka Trump was crying about the Syrian chemical gas attacks that were all fake psyop anyway. That was a whole kerfuffle, wasn't it? As we have individuals like Sal the Aggregist saying, what a clown. This is just embarrassing. Imagine bombing a country, risking World War III in the process, missing all of your targets, and then blaming it on the fact that people don't like you. Sad day for Americans. I disagree with that assessment. I think, listen, talking about how these things weren't successful, we don't know, okay? Iranians, Russians are saying, no, not successful. Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, Peak Headset, J.D. Vance, all those people, Donald Trump, the United States are saying, yeah, they were successful. Listen, personally, I want them to be successful because you understand the larger ramifications if they're not, right? And I think that's the quiet part out loud that I think a lot of people need to tell themselves here. As, of course, early intelligence suggests Iran's uranium largely intact, European official says. Whether it is or not, that's a conversation that, of course, we're at right now. As, listen, there's probably some underhanded attempts by the warmongers right now to be like, it's not, no, oh, no, this as we found out that the U.S. worked on plans to destroy Iran's Fordow facility for 15 years, but European intel says uranium stockpile was moved here. U.S. General Dan Kane confirms a long-planned military op targeted Iran's Fordow military attacks through their kind of ventilator shafts here. Now, 15 years means 4 different administrations. 4 different administrations that got the plans on their desk and said no. What made Donald Trump say yes here? All of this as we're also finding out that there's more scuttlebutt with Pakistan here. Now, I'm going to make a separate video about this because Pakistan's talking about now developing their own nuclear-armed ICBMs capable of striking the United States here. As, of course, they're reading the writing on the wall. They're saying, whoa, we saw what happened when Iran, Libya, Syria, Iraq. We see what's happening here. We're in the same region. These are our neighbors. Now, the bigger question kind of remains here. Why didn't China and Russia help out Iran during their times of the attack? Now, the Iranians would argue, we were great, we were fine. Listen, their guys allegedly are still being taken out here. Top brass of the military, of the government, of their whole system taken out. An important aspect to really understand here is that this was kind of a campaign of propaganda, and the Russians secretly were like kind of happy that this conflict was going on because they're able to have Ukraine. They understood the anti-drone systems, the anti-missile defense systems, the Patriot missile systems were all moved from Ukraine to Israel. Good. That's great for them. They wanted this war to continue. China, they didn't want the Strait of Hormuz closed, and I think that's the only reason it wasn't closed because China came in and said, you're not doing this. You're not closing the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, that's where all of our stuff goes in and out. You're not cutting that. You're not going to do that. And there were some flights confirmed, probably for rocket fuel. As, of course, the Chinese also saw this as an opportunity to kind of clasp their hands and wet their lips looking at Taiwan over there. And it was probably more advantageous for them to see this kind of conflict go on. Now, overall, they're long-term partnerships here, and Iran looks like they're now trying to expand their relationship with China and buy more military hardware for them. Medvedev and Putin had some interesting comments to say about Iran as well here, calling all of this very dangerous escalations. I don't think it's a coincidence. 2 major nuclear kind of arsenals were attacked during the beginning of Trump's kind of administration. There's something else bigger happening here. We're going to be covering it, talking about it, putting all the pieces together for you all here on this independent media organization. Sign up to lookunfiltered.com. Anything big happens, I will be talking to you guys directly into the chat room. I look forward to seeing some of you guys in real life. Stay tuned for more, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechained.